All right, we're live. We've got Heather with Rocketeer.com. Heather, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bryson.
So, pretty impressed with your resume. You've got quite a lot of stuff you've done in your career.
Everyone always says that exact word. Yes, impressed seems to be the word of the day.
So, tell us about Rocketeer, what got you focused on it, and what you do with it.
So, Rocketeer is a coaching, mentoring, and training company based in Las Vegas. It is basically my dream job. I'm so lucky and honored to do this every day because I get to work with people that are doing what they love to do. Um, it's a company that works with small businesses, entrepreneurs, people that are starting out and following their dreams, and we get to coach them to get to their next level. And as we say, we help them transcend awesome.
So, a lot of people obviously need this and want this desperately. And when I talk to people who email me, I think the number one thing that I hear is, how do I get to my first $10,000 a month in revenue?
Yeah.
And if somebody hit you up with that question, what would you say?
Well, I mean, the thing that I always tell people is if you find a problem that really needs to be solved, or if you can fill a need that people have, or even if you can find a different way to fill a want that people have, then you will have no problem getting to $10,000. So, I mean, if you just look around the world and ask people, what are your pain points? What are you missing in your life? And you find the commonalities that everyone has and just find a way to do it better or differently, or just find something that's missing, then you're just going to hit that really quickly.
Can you give some examples of how this has worked, either with yourself or with clients you've worked with?
So, for example, there's one company that they're making home electric car chargers, and the chargers aren't really they're not really that attractive. They're not anything uh, great to look at, but they saw a pain point for people that have electric cars, because when they came on the market, electric cars themselves, like the only way to charge them quickly was, or the only way to charge them was with a power cord in your house, or you had to buy a really expensive unit. So this company, like the owners had electric cars, and they're like, well, that's not cool. So they just built an electric car charger, and then they said, hey, does anyone else have this problem? Well, because we do. So then they decided to sell it, and they ended up just selling a bunch of them for a little bit over cost. And for years now, they've been making over $10,000 a month selling these. And now they're about to go into a major revenue model with electric companies.
How do people get distribution? I always feel like that's another big challenge. Got people with great products, but how do you get it out there and get it sold?
Well, it is difficult to go from small business to getting onto shelf space in stores, but Etsy is a great place to start a small business. And here in Las Vegas, we actually have something called the Container Park, where a small business can start. You get a 3-month contract, you get your own first store. And so you can go from Etsy to a little small store. And then once you are selling from there, people actually see, like places like Whole Foods or Macy's or Nordstrom's come down, see your stuff, and they're like, oh, well, we'd like to start a pop-up shop in our place. So there's a company called Bow and Drape in New York. They're an online retail store. And Nordstrom's actually decided to do a pop-up shop with Bow and Drape because they love their online stuff so much.
Dang, maybe I need to move to Vegas. You guys are doing some cool stuff. Does this have anything to do with Tony Hsieh? I know at one point he started some sort of big accelerator there, but I don't even remember what happened with that.
So Tony Hsieh invested $350 million of his own money into Las Vegas, into downtown. It was called the Downtown Project. But part of that is actually in companies actually around the world. So even, I mean, his whole investment portfolio is called the Downtown Project, and only about 30% of the companies are here. So that some of them are in New York, some of them are in San Francisco, Seattle. They're all over the place. But the idea is that portfolios, I mean, that the software, I mean, that the whole portfolio is a community that thrives and helps each other. And it's a really cool thing. But he wanted to spark a change in downtown Las Vegas, and now it's really taking off. So like 15 years ago, I was married here. I was living in Boston at the time, and you couldn't walk downtown. And in fact, the cab driver, when he took me downtown to get my marriage license, he like stayed for free with the meter not running because he was afraid for me downtown. But now I'm like 10 blocks away from where that is, and I would feel safe walking from my office to there at night. So,
wow.
And that's a large part to Tony Hsieh and his investment. So I work a lot with the companies that Tony Hsieh is invested in, but we also work with others as well.
So kind of kicking back to distribution, let's say I've got a startup company that maybe just provides a service in competition with a lot of, let's say I provide digital marketing services. How would I differentiate from competitors? How do I get market share? Because a lot of companies do digital marketing.
They do. So how are you different? Pick a niche. So digital marketing is, it's a huge industry. There's plenty out there for you. Perhaps you are really good at Pinterest. Because there's a lot of people that don't know how to do marketing on Pinterest or Instagram. A lot of companies don't understand Instagram marketing. So if you are really great at creating infographics, there's a lot of money there because those do really well on Pinterest. There's a lot of people that are trying to appeal to a younger market, like restaurants, for example. They need somebody that can do an Instagram and Facebook campaign for them, and there's a lot of money to be made there. For digital marketing, there's a lot of money in Yelp marketing. Like people don't even think of Yelp as digital marketing, but like not just Yelp, but like the Google My Business pages and all of those. So pick a niche and then target those. But if you go super broad, then you're not really targeting anyone and you're never going to stand out.
So let's say I decide I want to help restaurants with their Yelp marketing, digital marketing, and should I niche down from there, like pick a particular section of restaurants, or?
Well, you can start out. Start out going with one restaurant, get them to really love you, or one group of restaurants, and then they know everybody. So if you do really well with one, they're going to be like, oh, well, I use this one, and then ask for referrals. And because all of these guys, no matter what niche you're in, you're going to get referral business. So on Yelp, you can try restaurants or landscapers or whoever, and oh yeah, I used that guy. He was great. He was wonderful. Definitely worth the service. Now, of course, don't promise something you can't do. Like on Yelp, you cannot remove bad reviews. So if you go to a restaurant and say I can remove your bad reviews, then restaurants will get mad at you because everybody says that, but nobody can do that. But where you can really stand out is making sure you go in and you respond to all the comments. And that's something that these guys don't have time to do.
Interesting. So getting to the first customers, what's kind of the initial thought on, so I've got my digital marketing company helping restaurants with Yelp. Do I just go through, the phone book and start calling up restaurant owners? Do I go in person? Do I try
Pound pavement, go in person, walk, and you've got to go and see these people in person, meet them where they're at, and find the business hours that they're there, and don't visit them during the busy times, because they will just be mad at you and remember that you didn't pay any attention to their business. You don't want to go to a restaurant during the lunch rush and try and sell them something.
2 to 4 p.m. I think for a lot of restaurants is a good more downtime.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we've looked at this example pretty exhaustively here.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's much more we could do, but so what are some exciting startups that you're currently mentoring, or the types of, if I'm watching the show and I think, my gosh, I've got to get a hold of Heather and Rocketeer. What are the types of companies that you're looking for and wanting to work with?
So we really work with, we generally contract with investment portfolios. So actually governments and investment portfolios and large corporations. But we also do workshops with companies that are really wanting to go ahead, get their vision statement down, do culture training, things like that. So if there's a company out there that wants to really nail down their corporate culture, then feel free to give us a call, and we can facilitate a workshop for you to get that done. It's a real pleasure to see that kind of thing come together for people, and we just love doing that.
So if I'm interested in this sort of thing, I get in touch with you or Rocketeer, and I get to come down to Vegas and get trained? How does that work?
Or we can come to you. Yeah, you can check out our website. We have information on there, and if not us, we can also point you out to some great people that are probably in your area. We also do executive coaching, so that's something that we offer, and we generally do that remotely, because either on the phone or over Hangout, or Skype, however works best for you. So that can be done anywhere in the world.
That's cool. So in terms of launching Rocketeer, what challenges have you faced? What's worked and not worked in terms of Rocketeer and launching that startup?
Amazingly, because we're all, everyone in Rocketeer is a very seasoned business person. We've had all of our hiccups already in our previous businesses. So we've managed to dodge and weave and not have the pitfalls here. What we've, the only major issues that we've had are being so busy that we keep having to push team meetings with each other so that we can't keep up in person.
How do you handle busyness? That is another, so when I talk to startup founders, initial revenue getting to 10K, raising money, and then the busyness thing is something I hear over and over. Some entrepreneurs seem so busy.
Well, busy is an excuse, I think. It's something that people say when they are trying to avoid you, and it's something that is. Overwhelm is another term. Is a term that I think is a better explanation. where if you're getting overwhelmed, then you really need to talk to somebody to help you get unstuck. Where we are workaholics over here, so we love what we're doing, but finding that work-life balance that works for you is thing. But a lot of entrepreneurs do get overwhelmed, and that you need somebody to help you navigate.
How do you know that you're focused on, I mean, I find this with my own self, just with Go App School here, I'll find that I've, kind of gone down some rabbit hole, fixing my website or, just little things that end up becoming these rabbit holes. How do you know that you end up, you're working on the most important things that are going to deliver the most value to your customers and to your business?
Well, that's easy for me. So I have a priority system, and now having spent 12 years of Latin and 4 years of Greek, like priority means one. So like there's no like priority list.
What do you mean Latin and Greek? You studied Latin and
yeah. And I took 12 years of Latin, 4 years of Greek, and other languages as well. So like so there's no priority list. You have one thing that you should be working on, and that should be the thing that brings you money. And so if you've got multiple things that are bringing you money, then it should be the thing that brings you money now. And then anything else, like, okay, something that brings you money later is below the thing that brings you money now. And things that don't bring you money are like down here. If you are a business person, that is your priority list. So
I think so many people might push back and say, well, how do I know what's going to make me money? How do I know?
Is somebody paying you?
Question. Yeah.
If you have, like, for example, if there is the possibility of money, that's money later. If there's money on the table, that's up here.
I like that. For a lot of people starting out, take some of these Y Combinator companies. It always feels like Airbnb, is like that classic example of a company that spent, I guess, a couple years, maybe more, just kind of languishing, not really making any money. Do you think they could have gotten to the money faster, and it kind of took them 2 years of wandering to figure out what the priority?
Well, no, I mean, because they were always they knew what their revenue streams were. So they'd figured out what their roadmap was. And if you know what your roadmap is, if you know where your revenue channels are, then that's actually, then you're all set. Because they set out their business plan. Actually, they did a business model canvas early on. And then everything they did was within that framework. So it wasn't languishing, it was towards that end. And if you're within that framework, then you can play around to see what works, what doesn't work. So if you're a sole proprietor, if you're in there for yourself, then you really have to be lean and mean and work towards things. But for example, when I'm in the money now, money later thing, one of those things might be going and speaking at a convention. Now, somebody may or may not be paying me to do that, but it's all towards getting more money later, because it gets your name out there, it's advertising, so marketing, while you're spending money on marketing, it is greater return.
I see. But how do you know that, we weren't there when Airbnb was founded. We don't know exactly what all happened. But how does a startup founder know that they're not languishing, that they actually are on the right map, or they've got the right path to success?
Well, that comes with filling out, that comes with road mapping and product planning. So it's not necessarily that you're on the right path, but you have to trust that you're planning. I mean, you have to plan it out, you have to map it out, and then you just stick with it. And if you have to pivot, then something's wrong. So,
What do you
I mean,
what do you mean by that?
so if like companies that haven't planned things out, that, I mean, being agile is okay if you have an overall like goal that you're getting to. But if you have no goal, and if you're just like going at the whims of the market, then then investors see that as a problem.
The never-ending pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very insightful, I think. I mean, I see that in myself and then other, friends that I've talked to. It just, sometimes it feels like people are doing the never-ending pivot. And it's like, wow, you've got a great business. It's just, you can't pivot to a completely different business. You got to stick with it for a while, at least. So businesses that you've been involved with, I'm misunderstanding, but from the research I did, you were involved with Evernote. Is that true? Or
I was one of the earliest employees of Evernote. I was there for 6 years, and then I got the opportunity to come here, so I jumped on that.
So I don't know what you can tell us about Evernote, but tell us a little bit about that journey. That's a pretty impressive company, and to be on the ground floor, that'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. So when I started with Evernote, it was just a few of us. So it had originally been a Russian-owned company. It was founded by Stepan Pachikov early in 2000. I mean, in the 2000s. And my team was, Phil Libin and a few of us came from a company called Core Street in Boston. And he wanted to start a company called Ribbon about like saving your memories. But he found this company, Evernote, that had already been established. They had a bunch of patents, and he was like, oh, well, let's just merge with this company. So that's what we did, and we built this. We changed the uppercase N to a lowercase n, and as he said, that was all that it took to take off. We did nothing. We changed the N. No, we turned it into a SaaS product. It had been a Windows-only product at the time, and I helped to build the infrastructure of the support, sales, and success team. Me and my husband built. We built our own little support and QA and everything empire from our boat in Mexico for the first 3 years of the company.
Wow. Tell us more about that. What do you mean? How did that?
So one of my stipulations after having worked for Phil for 5 years and knowing how he was, I decided, I was like, you know what, Phil, I don't want to work in the office again. I don't want to be, I want a quiet environment. I've already done the startup thing. So I just want me and my husband to be on a boat in a peaceful place. We even moved to a city called La Paz, and which means peace in Spanish. So so we moved on our sailboat down to Mexico, and for the first couple years of Evernote, we're just on our boat. We're listening to the voice of the customer coming in, which is extremely important for a SaaS company. We're filtering it. We're testing the product constantly. We're letting marketing and security and legal and everybody know, engineering, what's going on, and then everything that they're saying we're spouting back out to the customer. So we're really letting the product grow and letting the customers feel the love of the company, which was really great. Really stressful, but I mean, being able to just pop up out of the boat and see like a blue whale was pretty awesome.
I bet that's a tremendous story. How did you know? I mean, I'm just picturing myself going to the local investment community around here and saying, you know, hey, and let's say Evernote never existed, and I said to them, hey guys, I got this great idea for note taking. We're gonna take it to the next level. I can imagine so many of them would just say, wow, you're crazy, this will never work. How did those thoughts ever cross your mind? Or
Well, there was a big problem actually raising money in the early days of Evernote, because it wasn't just the note taking. It was the fact that in 2007 and 2008, the big products then were all open and sharing. It was Facebook, it was MySpace, it was Twitter, it was all of these things about the world is open. We want to share everything. And Evernote was, we want to lock it down. We want to protect your memories. We don't want anyone to know anything. Because we just come from a security company. We're all security minded. We'd all been working with government entities, and we all were very much against the idea of letting this out, because, and still are. It's just, I mean, because if you look at Evernote, the only sharing happens if you want it to. You have to be very, very careful about what you share. And like, there's always like, do you want to share this? Are you sure? It doesn't happen by accident. Because these are your protected memories. And the core values of Evernote are actually like, your data is private, your data is protected, and your data is portable. So like, it's your data. It starts all of those because it's yours. So so everyone in the company is very security focused. And whereas with all of the other companies, it's all out there, have fun world.
yeah.
So raising money for stuff like that in that climate was very difficult. And then in fact, when we started to get money, the Bear Stearns was going to write the funding, but then they collapsed. Like, we had the money like ready to go the next day and done. So it was bad. So, but we were saved by a raving fan, like somebody, I mean, and that's why it's so important to build up your community of users. It's so important to make sure that people love you and that you're taking care of those first customers, which is why, like I said, make sure you're on Yelp answering everyone, because you never know who that person's going to be.
So what do you mean a raving fan saved the company? What do you mean by that?
At the very last minute, Phil tells this story a lot, and he tells it much better than me. But at the very last minute, there was a person who was, I mean, he was going to call everybody in. There was like 3 weeks of cash in the bank or something, and which never should happen. Anyone listening to this, don't ever let that happen. You should always have at least 3 months in the bank, probably 6. He was calling everybody in to tell us, you know, this company's failed. Sorry, got to go home. So he called us all in, and he was just exasperated. He'd been calling everyone trying to get funding, and then he noticed a Skype pop up with a customer. It was, I think, in Sweden. And the guy's like, is there anything I can do to help you? And Phil was like, I mean, if you could wire some money tomorrow, that would be great. And the guy's like, how much do you need? And
Wow.
he's like, I don't know, $500,000. He's like, done. What's your wire number? And Phil didn't really believe it was going to happen. But then the next day, it was there. It got us a bridge round. I mean, it was a bridge round. It saved us. I mean, he did it without even having the term sheet ready. And then it saved the company long enough for us to get to Series A. So.
Unbelievable. Wow. So back to voice of the customer. This is something I struggle with. I have some raving fans. I mean, I have people that email me and are grateful for the show, and they like meeting new people like you. How do I take this feedback to make Go App School, you know, just the most amazing company ever that everyone's heard of?
So are you publishing all your testimonials everywhere you possibly can?
No, I haven't done a thing.
Well, that's your first step. Ask people to publish your I mean, if you can publish their testimonials, and I mean, people love to have their name published, so that's the first thing. You're like, oh yeah, I'd love to say that, because if they love you, then they're gonna love that you're publishing it, because people are genuinely happy for that. Then when you have that, you'll be able to go to these customers that you want to sell to and say, like, look, all these people love me. It's kind of like, did you ever see that the show How I Met Your Mother?
No, I've never seen it. I've heard of it though.
Oh, well, there's this line, Neil Patrick Harris's character always does, have you met my friend Ted? Like, it's like the introduction, like, so let other people do the introductions for you. Because, I mean, so your customers speak for you. These testimonials speak for you. People won't trust you because they don't know you, but you let the testimonials speak for you. And that's all you need. So if you've got like a line full of people that are like, I love this guy, then that speaks better for you than you just going like, will you take my business? So.
Yeah. Huh. So how do you handle the other side? I mean, I've gotten I get some hate mail. I've gotten some emails just saying like, wow, your show's kind of dumb, and, you know, your background's lame, and, you know.
Respond to them too. Respond to everybody. So I got an email once when I was at Evernote, and I mean, I spent time responding to everyone. And one of the things one of the emails I got that stuck with me, it was this person, they were just, I mean, every other word was a curse word. And it was like, this software is stupid. This software is the worst thing ever. It deleted my note, blah, 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 blah. And I wrote back and I'm like, oh, I'm so terribly sorry. Let's try and fix this. I'm sure we'll be able to get the note back. And the person immediately wrote back and they're like, oh my God, I thought I was just talking to an automated computer response. I didn't know it was a real person. I'm so sorry. And I was like, what did they think they were? But then, I mean, I turned them around, because if you have, I mean, the people that dislike, I mean, hate is just one frustration point away from love. Yeah. So if you can flip the hate, like it's passion. It's passion, because they hated you enough to write to you. So turn that into love.
Cool, I like that. Are there any other thoughts on voice of the customer that can help?
Remember that for every person that takes the time to write to you, there's 1,000 people that didn't. So so that the customer is really, really powerful. And for every person that likes you, they're going to tell like 9 people. For a person that doesn't like you, they're going to tell like 20. So make sure that you're spending a lot of time on the people that don't like you. Respond everywhere. Respond, like, I mean, anywhere that you can find a mention of you, respond, no matter if it's positive or negative, because it's super important that everyone gets a good experience.
Dang. Well, we've gotten so many insights from you. So grateful that you came on the show. If anyone wants to reach out, what's the best way, via Twitter or through the website, or?
They can reach me at Twitter at Heathriel. That's HeaThriel. Or at our website, Rocketeer.com.
Awesome. Well, Heather, thanks so much for coming on the show, and really appreciate your insights.
It's been a pleasure.
Cool. Thank you.